What if your body was a gift and contribution to your life and not something that you've been stuck with? What if your body could change quickly and easily? Right Body for You will inspire you and show you a different way of creating the body and the life you truly desire. Now here's your host, Danielle.
And welcome everybody to Right Body for You. I am Danielle. I am your host. I am quite often the person leading you in the rightest giggles. Sometimes that does happen on this show. We like to have a good time. Right Body for You is a different type of show. You know, we work with the energy that we all be, and we kind of have a different point of view about bodies, and often we talk about a lot of things that it's like, well, that doesn't have anything to do with bodies. And you know what? In my experience, I found very little doesn't actually affect your body. And today I am joined by a dear friend, Laleh Hancock. She also does the show here on A2Zen.fm. And I asked her to be on the show today for a topic that's actually near and dear to my heart, and a conversation that her and I have had privately, or not that we're ever private, but without other people listening in, quite often. It's actually something she's helped me get through. So today we're talking about who is sitting next to you. And like I said, we are joined by Laleh Hancock, who is just, amazing. But she's an international management consultant, a radio host of Joy of Living with Laleh, a certified facilitator of Access Consciousness, and for over 20 years, Laleh has dedicated her career and personal life to inspiring and empowering individuals, including me, and organizations who desire to create more in their personal lives, careers, and businesses. She is a seasoned executive and entrepreneur, a transformational coach, a life-changing speaker, and a dear friend, and just an amazing person to hang out and play with. So thank you, Laleh, for joining me today on the show.
Danielle, the pleasure's all mine.
So I asked Laleh to talk about this topic, who is sitting next to you? Because Laleh and I have worked together quite a bit. We played together quite a bit, and we had a different point of view about things like plane rides. I was one of those people who were like, plane ride is my time. Don't talk to me. I'm going to put my headphones in. I'm going to watch a movie. I was one of those that was upset when they started putting internet on planes. I'm like, no, now people can reach me. This is my time. And so I was never willing to talk to people sitting next to me. And every time I caught up with Laleh, she was like, oh my gosh, I met the most amazing person on the plane. I'm like, of course you did. And it started becoming a joke. It's like, she would land, I'd be like, okay, who'd you meet? She's like, oh, this amazing person, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, you should talk to people. I'm like, no, my time. And then, we started talking about this, and we'll talk a lot about the gifts that talking to people can actually create in your life. But it was, so for me, interesting lately, I spent 3 hours. I did a flight from, Houston to somewhere Houston. And it was a 3-hour flight. And I ended up spending the entire time talking to the guy next to me. I wasn't flirting. I wasn't trying to do anything, create anything. It was just ease and flow of conversation. And what's funny is the entire time inside my head, I kept going, Laleh would be so proud. Laleh would be so proud. So as soon as I got home, I contacted her. I was like, guess what I just spent 3 hours doing? So, Laleh, you still have a different point of view about this. You look at it differently. And what's amazing for me is every time we talk to somebody, they're so like, oh, yay, this person's talking to me, instead of like, oh, I wish this person next to me would shut up.
Yeah.
So it's like, will you talk to us a little bit about, because I know a lot of people are like me, and I've started to realize what a gift it is to actually get to know these people. Mm-hmm. So will you talk a little bit about, it's like, where did this come from in you? What was
Yeah.
that moment where you were like, oh, I want to talk to these people, and what's this like? And, just kind of give a different
Yeah.
look on
So
it.
thank you for that. I love the story about you sitting next to someone for 3 hours and talking, because anyone who knows you, they know you may do that one-on-one, or you might do it in a classroom setting, but on the plane or sitting somewhere where you just want your space, that's actually huge. So I'm very proud of you. But actually, who's sitting next to you is not just about the airplane. It truly is, are you aware of who's around you? And it doesn't even have to be that it's within a vicinity, you can touch them, but so many of us walk around our lives, our work life, we're driving to work, we're going to the doctor's office, we're taking our kids to school, we're traveling on an airplane or on a bus or train or whatever, and we're clueless to who's around us. And one of the things that I found, actually from the business world, a lot of people would call it networking. And it's something that everyone has to do, or they think that's what they have to do to be able to grow their business, to be able to expand whoever they're talking to. It's usually business focused. But what I found is it's actually beyond that. There's an art to this. There's this, what I call it is the art of networking with elegance. And elegance maybe being a little bit different than what most people would describe as elegance, but really what you can put the least amount of effort, but actually get the greatest results. That's what elegance is. And so for me, my whole life, I've been a talker. I wanted to get to know everybody. When I was younger, I left my country the day after the revolution. We moved to France, and I was in France. And for me, it always was more of like, I don't know how long I'm going to be somewhere, so I'd like to get to know as many people as possible while I'm there. And not because I had to accomplish anything, but I just enjoy people. And then the same thing, we left France, moved to the US years ago, and it was the same thing. And then it was like where I lived and what school I went to. So I think this is something that for me has been going on for a lot longer than my career. It just actually is a natural part of who I am. And like you mentioned, I tend to meet people everywhere on the street. I do travel a lot on airplanes, so airplanes as well.
But she's not even kidding, folks. We'll be standing in a line somewhere, and the guy behind us or the girl behind us will be suddenly her new best friend. It's amazing to watch, and it's fun to be around. It makes it actually fun instead of like a chore.
You know what it is? I don't look at it as something I have to do. It's just like naturally I like to say hello to people. And one thing I laugh is like anyone who's met my husband, Peter is an executive in business, and he has to naturally talk to a lot of people all day long. But we're like total polar opposites. When we're on the plane or anywhere together, he's exactly what you described as you. He's like reading his book and wants nobody to talk to him, while I'm sitting at the other side of him and literally chatting with whoever's near me. And I want to differentiate. So there is a tapping into the awareness of, does the person next to you even want to be acknowledged? Do they even want to talk to you? Or do they have the energy that you had long ago, last week, of leave me alone? This is my this is my private space, and kind of, so I know I've sat plenty next to those kinds of people, and there's an honoring that goes with that as well. That it's not about invading their private space. It's not about you coming into an environment where they're forced to talk to you. But I've found that literally by me sometimes not even saying the hello, but just a smile opens a door. That's it. And they're like, I talked to you during the whole flight. I've never done that before. I usually don't talk to people. And yet I couldn't get them to stop talking, at some flight. So it just goes back to what's natural for you? What do you enjoy doing? And would you be willing to consider that you don't actually hate talking to people? And would you be willing to consider that it's not going to be a pain or take you away from what you naturally want to do wherever you are? We say the plane, but really it's anywhere where someone else might be standing next to you.
It is anywhere. I'm just on a planes a lot. And one thing I've really noticed about you, Laleh, in this conversation that we've had multiple times, it was never about, like you said, the networking. Because, I've sat next to people in various places, and when they start talking to me, often comes up in my universe, in my head, the first thing I think of is, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have that. And that's part of the elegance that I've really seen with you, is that when you start talking with people, you're literally a blank slate of, so how are you?
Mm-hmm.
And you have no agenda, nothing you're trying to drive home, nothing you're trying to sell them. And I really think that's such a unique way of communicating with people, that it really invites people and pulls them in and intrigues them to go, wow, yeah, I'll talk to you for 3, 6, 12 hours, whatever you want. Let's go.
It actually does turn out. I had one going to Australia that was at least 9 hours. Yeah. And you know what? Thank you for sharing that, because it is. I think so many of us, once again, the word networking is not a bad word, because it is about you including people in your network, your network. People that just are part of your circle or out of your circle, or people that you like to get to know. And, the part of this that I also want to bring up, it's not always a coincidence that you sat next to that person. Like, for example, I was coming back from facilitating some classes in Brazil in May. Actually, it was the beginning of June. And we were flying from Rio to Houston, and then Houston to Chicago for a wedding. And we had an emergency, a health emergency on our flight from Rio to Houston. So we had to stop in Miami and let them off and refuel, which really caused a ripple effect for everyone who had connecting flights. We all missed our connecting flights, which is quite interesting. And of course, the night before in Houston, they had weather issues. So then there were more flights that had issues and had to be scheduled for the next morning. And, there's a moment of you're like, oh, I know that this was an emergency. It's nothing that we could have had anything to do with. But at the same time, when you're constantly on standby flights and you go from one side of the airport to the other and come back and you still can't get a seat on the plane, you get frustrated. And I was at one of those moments, and I was like, you know what? This is not working for me anymore. I am not going to be running to the other side of the airport to find out if I am or I'm not getting on this flight. I am going to be on the next flight. So I really put the demand, I'm going to be on the next flight. Now, my husband and my 2 kids didn't make the same demand. So yes, I was on the next flight, and they had upgraded me to first class. At the 11th hour, one of my daughters did get to jump on the plane. She sat in the back of the plane. But what was so funny for me is a month earlier, I had been asking people, who do you know that can build a website? And I wasn't looking for just anyone. I was looking for someone who really could understand my business consulting practice and really make sure that the tools that they were using are going to be easy and compatible and blah, 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 blah. And now remember, I'd asked that a month earlier. I get on the plane. I'm sitting in first class. I sit next to this gentleman. At some point, we say hello to each other, and the conversation begins, right? Now, I don't have an agenda. I'm like so excited, total gratitude for getting on the plane. I also was like, how does it get even better? Because that's what you always say after everything that's going on in your life to make it better. And then we started talking, and it turned out he's a CEO of 2 businesses. And his businesses are, one is in Chicago, one is in Houston. He was leaving to go home where his house is in Chicago. Now, meanwhile, we talked about a lot of different things. He shared with me some things he wants to do when he retires. And it really turned into a coaching session between us. What are the different possibilities available for him to do, not just to be part of a board, like as the next step, but really what else could he do? And then out of the blue, he says something about his son. And I was like, oh, tell me more. It turns out his son has his own web design business, and he loves working with small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and conversation just kind of took off from there. Now, most of us probably wouldn't have remembered the conversation we had a month ago with ourselves as like, hey, I really want to redo my website. Who would be, a good person to work with on this project and blah, 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 blah. Now, I would never have met this man if my flight from Brazil had not been delayed getting into Houston. We would have totally missed each other by a few hours of landing in Chicago. So, once again, when I'm talking about who's sitting next to you, it's not just about who's sitting next to you, but who did you plant energetically to sit next to you? What were you asking for that actually showed up next to you, but by you ignoring them and not even having a conversation, it's just passing you by?
What are you saying to me, Laleh? What?
I'm just saying that how cool is it that sometimes we actually ask for something, we shall receive it if we're willing to even open our eyes to see it's next to us. That's what I'm saying.
I love it. Okay, we need to take a quick little break. And, when we come back, I have a story for you, Laleh, another little adventure I did. I'm not sure if I've shared with you yet about who's sitting next to me. And then I know we have some other questions. And you guys, if you want to join in and chat with Laleh or ask questions, please do. From the U.S., you can call 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or in the U.K., 033-0001-0625, or join us on A2Zen.fm chat room. We always have a lot of fun in there, a lot of laughs and a lot of comments. Okay, so this is Right Body for You. I'm Danielle with special guest Laleh, and we'll be right back.
What if your body could be an ease and not a burden? What would life be like if you could enjoy your body? What if changing your body was easier than we've been taught? And what if it's not about the latest fad? Join Danielle each week on Right Body for You as she explores what bodies are and the ease of change that's possible. Each week you will receive inspirational stories of those who've used the Right Body for You energetic tools to change their body and the tools that they used, tools that you can begin to use immediately. Listen for Right Body for You every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Mountain, and 11 a.m. Pacific on A2Zen.fm.
Have you ever been on a land that was so joyful that your whole body lit up? Or swam in a river that brought all your cells to life? What if you are the gift the earth has been asking for? For the first time, Gary Douglas and Dr. Dane here are facilitating a class for the earth, with the earth, and inviting you to connect to the earth in a way that you may never have before. What else is possible with the earth that you've never considered? The Earth class is a special 3-day class designed to give you the tools to create change wherever you go on this beautiful planet of ours, with the water, the land, the air, and people. It's inviting you to let the earth know you are here and for the earth, to touch you and let you know it is here for you too. You're invited to join Gary and Dane in Houston, Texas, or online January 24th to the 26th. Go to www.accessconsciousness.com/earthclass for more information. All proceeds will go to El Lugar, a non-profit foundation dedicated to creating greater ecological possibilities. What kind of world would you like to live in? What future are you here to create? Just go to www.accessconsciousness.com/earthclass, January 24th to the 26th. www.accessconsciousness.com/earthclass.
What if there's nothing wrong with you? What if you're far greater than you've ever given yourself credit for? What if it's time to know the gift and the contribution you are to the world and to like yourself a lot more? Hi, my name is Dane here. 13 years ago I started to truly ask questions. Actually, I started to be the question, and everything changed for me. Asking questions opens doors to infinite possibilities. And it's not about finding the answer, it's about being the question. Always. What I'm inviting you to step into is something that Einstein, Marie Curie, Newton, Da Vinci, Gandhi, Picasso, and Aristotle all knew to be true. What if no question is too big or too small? What if anything is possible for you? What if together we could create a kinder, gentler, happier world? Is now the time? Go to beingyouclass.com and sign up for a free video series, My Gift to You. beingyouclass.com. What if you, truly being you, are the gift and change this world requires? beingyouclass.com.
This is Right Body for You with Danielle. To participate in the program today, please call in the U.S. 815-880-8255 or Canada 613-800-8763 or UK 4433-0001-0625. You can Skype us at a2zen.fm. Or if you'd like to email a question, please send it to Danielle@accessconsciousness.com. Now, back to the program.
And welcome back to Right Body for You. I am Danielle, and I am joined today by the amazing and wicked smart and aware Laleh. We're talking today about who's sitting next to you. While it involves networking, it's really, like Laleh said, just about being aware of who's around you. And, before the break, Laleh, you were telling a story about how you had asked the question a month earlier about meeting somebody for your website and then finding that person next to you. And, and I've heard you tell stories about this. And in this whole new, not my personal space on the plane thing for me, the last flight I was on, yes, I have lots of stories about flights. I'm on a plane a lot. And it was right before Thanksgiving, and it was one of those, weather was bad, maintenance was bad, and so there were delays everywhere. And so it was interesting because we were about to get in on the plane, and this woman next to me starts huffing and puffing. She's like, oh, I was told I was supposed to have a aisle seat, and this is 3A, and so it's a window seat, blah, 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 blah. And so she's about to go storming off, and I'm like, okay, hold on, wait, honey, wait, stop. And I'm like, it's a small plane. It's A is the entire row on that side. I'm in 2A, so I know this. So we talked about it a little bit. And then we just started talking, which was interesting. And I'm like, oh, yes, this is the new me who doesn't mind talking to people randomly. And what was cool is we ended up, it got to be a new friend as well. But beyond that, she was totally interested in what I do. She wanted my business card. She wanted to connect in LinkedIn. And what was neat is I wasn't after that. I started the conversation to diffuse the situation for somebody else because it's like, hey, I can contribute this while the rest of the world's going crazy. I can calm you down. And but it was a lot of fun and ease. And I had asked the question earlier of different new clientele, and she ends up being some big executive at Big Pharma back east. I'm like, oh, cool. And she's not somebody I normally would have approached with the Right Body for You work that I do. And she was totally like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I want to do that. And all this kind of stuff. I was like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. Thanks, Laleh. And, and one of the reasons I wanted you to talk about this on the Right Body for You radio show, besides I think it's freaking fantastic, is me and my body are more at ease in planes and stuff. Now I'm not all tensed up going, don't talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it affects the body as well, which is one of the many reasons I asked you to be on today. And, and how you said earlier that it was just a natural thing for you, mm-hmm. With all the moving and stuff. Well, what's interesting is I moved a lot, and I did the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, there's no reason to get to know you because I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And so what is something you would suggest to somebody, to a question to ask or a presence to be, or how would you suggest to somebody who desires to change something like this, to go from like me to an invitation like you are in the public.
You know, one of the things that I want to say first, though, is if you are the kind of person who wants to sit on the plane and not talk to someone else, that's okay. Because what I am sharing here and what we're sharing together really isn't that's not what the right thing is to do, and the right thing is for you to talk to everybody. So that's the one thing that I first wanted to share. There is no right or wrong to any of this, you know?
Right, but I was excluding it to the point of not creating my life or not creating things, which is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So that you actually have that as, because we're all talking about, you know, hey, let's create our lives. And then you do something like this to stab yourself in the foot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what's interesting, actually, in the chat room, the question that came up is I almost never initiate a conversation with strangers. I don't want to bother them. There's no question there because you yeah, because you know, that's why I said, you know, it goes back to our awareness. You know, it does go back to, I'll say a lot of people don't even know what awareness is, but they'll know what their gut instinct is, or they'll know that, hey, I feel something, you know, like inside my stomach feels really heavy, or I feel like, you know, not comfortable with this environment. So, one of the first places is, you know, ask, is there something here that I'm trying to avoid? Because I've found, like what you mentioned specifically, that's almost like we're avoiding to meet people. We're avoiding to advance ourselves, or we're avoiding to get what we really want. And when we do it from an avoidance, that's not helping you. But when you actually need time because you need to decompress from what happened, and you and your body actually need the space not to talk to someone, that's the honoring of you. And, you know, one of the things that I always ask, because I am the opposite. Yes, most people, you know, have a situation like I had as a young girl. You know, we moved so much that it was what Carol just mentioned. I don't want to almost disturb people to get to know them because I know I'm leaving. So I know I was different in the fact that I did the backwards of that. I did the opposite of it. I was like, you know what? I don't know how much time I have. Oof, got to get to know as many people as I possibly can. So, you know, I think there's a sense of knowing what's naturally, I'm going to quote it, comfortable for you. And then ask the question, is this comfort something to just stop me from expanding, growing, or whatever it is I'm trying to do? Or is there something here that actually makes me feel uncomfortable? So, you know, and
I had my excuses.
Yeah.
I talk with people all the time. I never shut up.
Yeah.
And
well, do you not shut up, or is it that you, in your role as a facilitator, as someone who's the coordinator of something worldwide, you are in demand that people seek to get information from you? So I'm wondering, even in those situations, if you turned it around, that you're always there for people to ask you questions, you're there for them to take care of them, to guide them. When is it time for you, Danielle, to be that you're actually seeking to what's going to work for you? And who is out there who can have information to help you grow, right? Body for you grow, your business to grow, your services to grow. And that's the other piece of this. Not every conversation you have is going to yield to something of your business growing or their business growing, because that's not what you're going after. But something will change in your world and something will change in their world that you may never know about. Because 5 minutes later, they left the plane or the room or whatever, and you may never see them again. What's funny is I've actually had situations where, you know, I met someone and, of course, gave them my business card through the conversation. And months later, they're like, oh, my God, I cannot even explain to you how much that moment with you changed me or changed my parenting. Or I remember one lady coming back from Sydney. She was going to a board meeting, and and I gave her some tools to use. And I was like, you know what? I use this for my kids who are in college, and she literally got off the plane, called her 16-year-old daughter, started sharing the tools with her, shared it also at the board meeting. And then that evening, she wrote me an email and said, you are amazing. These tools not only changed my life today, my daughter's life, but our board meeting totally went different than it usually does. We were actually productive. And I was like, how does it get any better than that? So it really is that you're not doing it for the fact that you're expecting something from someone, but you're also willing to receive what their gift is for you. And they're hopefully willing to receive the gift that you are for them as well.
And that's something that I've always, admired and really watched you do too, is like you shared a couple of tools with these one people. And then, earlier you were saying about how it basically this guy that you were talking to, it kind of turned into almost a consulting session. Mm-hmm. And what I think is amazing is after this, you also come off with I didn't waste my time, or I didn't give something away for free, or they should have paid me. You're just all about what will this create for them, for me, for the world, for everybody. And I think that is something that's unique and makes it easier for people to receive communication from you.
Yeah. And, I think it goes back to expectations. I don't have any expectations of anyone I meet. That said, I do have a target to be able to share as much information, as many tools to truly empower as many people around the world as possible. So I do believe that we have an amazing, abundant universe, that it's not linear. So by me helping you today, Danielle, doesn't mean that Danielle has to help me and give me money for my business. But trust me, somewhere along the way, that kindness and the gift that I'm being to you, for you, and in the world is actually spreading. So it could be that through my whatever tools I shared today, that energy actually gets to the person that does desire to work with me and will pay me for my services. But it doesn't have to be linear. It doesn't have to be that, X equals Y. It's just that that's just the magic of our world, our universe, that it does happen. So my business does grow, even though the people that I'm sharing the tools with every day may not be my clients.
I get that about the linear thing. I used to be A equals B, then C, and if you keep going far enough, then you're going to get the Z. Mm-hmm. And it so isn't now, and it's funner and it's easier, and I smile more, which is one of the amazing things, and laugh more.
Yeah.
Which I know, dear heavens, people are like, oh my gosh. Because if you've ever heard this show, or Laleh and I together.
We tend to laugh a lot, actually. I adore you, Danielle, and I adore the energy that you are all the time. And you give away like as if people, I don't know, like you're serious on these flights and stuff. You're not.
Who, me? No, it is. But the thing that I am grateful for is the fact that you helped me really become aware of, yes, there were those moments I was honoring myself of like, I need a nap or I need to decompress. I'm just going to watch this movie. And there were those moments where I was like literally shooting myself in the foot because I wasn't willing to receive the person next to me, basically. And it was interesting because when I started changing or being more of myself, I have people talk to me all the time, which is pretty funny. My mom, before she died, she would always laugh. She goes, "Does everybody have to talk to you?" I'm like, yes. It's like we were returning an item at a store one time, and this woman started telling me about their camping trip over the weekend and how they had to dig a latrine and all this just kind of random stuff. And my mother's just staring at me going, "This is your fault. This is your fault." And it was hilarious. I mean, I've had people stop me on the streets of New York and just start talking to me about their childhood, and I'm like, okay. But it's been interesting to discover the places where I drew a line.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think for me and a lot of other people, that's an interesting distinction, because it was like, those 5 minutes at a cashier, no problem. Talk to me, tell me anything.
Mm-hmm.
But if I trapped in a plane with you for
a few hours,
hours, back off. So it's really been interesting to drop those barriers.
Yeah.
As well.
And what if, I am not even saying we have to talk the whole time or that we even have to talk. One of the questions that I always ask before I sit next to somebody is, does this person require anything of me? And does this person even desire for us to have a conversation? And of course, I use the tools of light and heavy, like if mostly for me, it's in my stomach area, but if I ask a question and it just feels very much like bubbles, like lightness, then that usually means yes to me. But then, if I have that, like some people call it actually cramping pain, even though it's not cramping, but it's like when you have that heaviness in your stomach, for me anyway, in my stomach, then I know, then I know it's a no. And so I'm gonna always smile. I'm always gonna say hello, but it doesn't have to go beyond that. And you mentioned something earlier, when you are actually willing to be the real you. Yeah. That's what you said. And when we're kids, I mean, think about it. When we were 5 years old, we were in the playground. We didn't care if we knew the names of the kids in the playground. We just started talking to them. We just started playing with them. And even if we didn't want to talk to them, we played next to them. Yeah. And that is the naturalness of who we are. So somewhere along the way, we decided to maybe, mirror that of other people and think that that's not appropriate to do. We're now adults and we need to be responsible and blah, blah, blah. But I actually share that with all of my clients and anyone I meet is, what if we're all willing to be what we were when we were kids? And there is no wrongness if someone doesn't want to talk to you or whatever. And if they do, that you also, if it's okay with you to talk to them as well, that it ends up being a conversation. For me on flights, it's about also remaining aware of what that person needs. So there's plenty of times I know, this is a time for us, this moment, to just stop talking, because now's time for them to go do their thing or to take a nap or take out their book and read. So it's this honoring, of knowing that when to lower your barriers so that you can receive, but also know when their barriers are about to go up. Yeah.
And and it has been a gift for me to observe you doing this.
Cool.
It really has, I mean, yeah, we've worked together in business ways, but also just the dinners and whatever, just to watch you be that ease with it, it's really been fun. And I really got to, it was almost like my own, like field expedition, like I was the person behind the wall watching. I know, nice analogy. But it really has been fun because you showed me a different possibility. So I'd really encourage people to, get a chance to talk to you or listen to your show also, because it's like you do it with that elegance. I really liked how the elegance you were talking about earlier. I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact phrase you said. But there is an elegance to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And what if elegance didn't mean that you thought you knew exactly what to say or that you had to have it all figured out? One of the things, it's funny.
Oh, now you tell me I have to have it figured out.
Yeah. That's the magic of it. Like when we take our brain out of it and we actually naturally say, hey, what does this person need to hear? right now? What do they need to hear? There's going to be thoughts that pop in your head, whether you think you know that or not. Something's going to pop in your head, because one of the things that we did talk about all of this is how much our body plays a big factor in this. I get all my awareness through my body, knowing what to say, knowing to say something or not to say something. There's a lot of communion and communication that's happening with my body as I'm communicating with others. And one of those things is, what if, I see this actually as such a mistake in the business world. I see so many salespeople, so many executives. It's like they have it scripted out. Okay, I'm going to this networking meeting. I have to get this amount of business cards because there's going to be this amount of executives or clients there. I have to accomplish A through Z. And when you have all of that figured out, you're robotic. It's not natural. It's not the authentic side of you building a relationship with someone. Instead, it totally is a check mark. And the other person, guess what? You have the ability to be aware and sense things. So do they. And when that client or that executive is at the other side of you and it is robotic and they feel it's a checklist and you're just out to get their business card, one, they're not going to share as much with you. And two, they're not going to stay around and talk to you. They're going to circle around and go elsewhere. And so one of the things that I really share a lot with any of my leadership development classes, whether it's for the youth or the executives, is stop being somebody you're not. People want to know the genuine you. And they want to know what really makes you who you are. And if all of us would be willing just for a moment to take a breath and then just let it go, and as we let it go, also lower all the barriers of who we think we need to be, who we were told we had to be successful, or who, whoever gave us guidance, whether it was our parents or teachers, every single business book that told you how to network and how to socialize with people and who to talk to and not to. Like, let all that go. And you and your naturalness actually having a conversation, I really wonder what else will come out of those meetings. I went in May, early May, I attended an event with my husband in Cancun, Mexico. And it was a special club event for one of their partners, and my husband just happened to be the executive sponsor, so I got invited to go along with him. And what was funny is the first night, now this organization had probably, let's say 85% of the employees were from that company, and then 15% were from my husband's company. So at dinner, the first night, they had names at the tables, and there were very few tables that didn't have names signed to the seats. I happened to sit down, and do you know, twice, people that normally would have sat somewhere else came and sat on each side of me. And of course, I didn't think it was weird at all, because that's just what happens.
Like, what are you talking about? Coincidentally, I'm like,
there's no coincidence. But it was so funny, because to my left is this woman that I actually still keep in touch with, and to my right was this gentleman. And both of them were at the highest peak of their stress with their work. Both of them were trying to figure out, oh my God, what else can I add to my business? What else can I do different? They were asking the questions. And that night, I don't know, somehow I uncovered that. And then the next day, I ended up having a session that I did, a consulting session with the woman who sat next to me and her husband, like separate sessions for them. They're both salespeople. And the executive wanted to bring me on to do a kickoff of their sales meeting at the end of the year. So what I'm saying isn't that that's what I went to go seek and do, but what I'm willing to be, what I'm willing to share with the world, and what people are asking for kind of attracts it to each other. And so sometimes it's not a seat on an airplane, but a random, quote, random, someone sitting next to you at a dinner table.
Yeah.
So,
I love that it's the who you be that was just the invitation to this.
Mm-hmm.
Because you didn't go there going, okay, well, I am now the spouse, and I'm supposed to be this role or do this or not talk about this or not be this, not make waves or whatever. You were just like, hi, I'm me. Who are you? Like little kid on the playground, like you were talking about. And, you know, you're also one of those people who's been like, yeah, you know, last night was really bad. I got drunk and I fell off the stool or did whatever. And you're like, they tell me your deepest, darkest secrets. And it's just so amazing. And you're like, really cool. I'm not going to judge you. And you know what? I can help you change that if you want. Okay, cool. Let's do that. Well, get a bigger stool. I don't know. Anyway, all right. We got to take a quick little break. Today, we got to take a quick little break. We're talking today to Laleh Hancock about who's sitting next to you, who's around you, how can you contribute to them, and contributing to them, how that changes the world, really, you know, sometimes even starting with your own. All right, so this is Danielle. This is Right Body for You. We're on A2Zen.fm, and we'll be right back.
What if your body could be an ease and not a burden? What would life be like if you could enjoy your body? What if changing your body was easier than we've been taught? And what if it's not about the latest fad? Join Danielle each week on Right Body for You as she explores what bodies are and the ease of change that's possible. Each week you will receive inspirational stories of those who've used the Right Body for You energetic tools to change their body and the tools that they used, tools that you can begin to use immediately. Listen for Right Body for You every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Mountain, and 11 a.m. Pacific on A2Zen.fm.
Oh no! January 1st is coming up and I need to set my New Year's resolutions. That is how most of us react, and then default to what everyone else has decided is what we should change. But what would you actually like to change or create? Join me and a group of potent creators the first 4 days of the new year in the teleseries called Kickstarting the New Year. You'll receive 4 90-minute live calls filled with tools to create clarity on what it is you truly desire to create and be, and the tools to create that desire with ease. Go to Danielle.com, DONNIELLE.com for more information and to sign up. Kickstarting the New Year. What would you like to create in the new year? The world can't wait to find out.
What if you really do change molecules by your interaction with them? What if the change you've been looking for is right before your eyes? What if the uncomfortableness that comes with difference could be fun? What if the closed-minded people of the world no longer determined our world? What if gratitude trumps judgment every time? What if your kindness healed the world? What if the earth is asking for your help? And what if you had the resources to give it? This is your invitation to step into something that Einstein, Marie Curie, Picasso, Da Vinci, Shakespeare, Aristotle all knew to be true. Hi, my name is Dane here. 13 years ago I started to truly ask questions. Actually, I started to be the question, and everything changed for me. What if there are no dumb questions? Or any question too large? What if you being you are the gift and the change this world requires? Is now the time? For more questions to create a change in your world, sign up for a free video series at beingyouclass.com. My gift to you, beingyouclass.com.
This is Right Body for You with Danielle. To participate in the program today, please call in the U.S. 815-880-8255 or Canada 613-800-8763 or UK 4433-0001-0625. You can Skype us at A2Zen.fm. Or if you'd like to email a question, please send it to Danielle@accessconsciousness.com. Now, back to the program.
And welcome back to Right Body for You. Today I am joined by the amazing Laleh Hancock, who's done a lot with business, with changing people's worlds, including mine. And today we've been talking about who's sitting next to you. And if you guys have just joined in the show or joined in late, please listen from the beginning. Laleh has actually given quite a few tools throughout the entire show about how to change that if you desire it, and to know when it is time to talk to somebody or not, for them and for you. So, Laleh, I know we're coming up on coming up on the end of the show. Mm-hmm. And there was a quick little, somebody feels like being a fish out of water mm-hmm. when they're starting to network marketing. Can you talk a little bit about that, and then any little last tidbits you'd like to share with us?
Yeah. So, I love the question. It was it's perfect timing for me. I've just started to do a lot of networking to build my business, and I feel like fish out of water. And I'm wondering, the first question I would ask is is that really true? Are you really fish out of water? Or are you trying to do networking the way you think it has to be done? Because that's the first place I would start. We tend to know more about everything, including networking, including growing our business, than we give ourselves credit, if that makes sense. And so, one of the things with businesses, I love it if you can actually include your business in the questions you're asking every day. One of the ones that I do every day is, one of my businesses is called Bella Pimo. And I'm like, hey, Bella Pimo, who do you want to talk to today? Where do you want us to go today so that we can get your services out there? Who should I call that will get us to where we need to go? And when we start asking the questions, it's amazing that you actually get information and awareness, or suddenly your aunt calls you and you're like, oh, that has nothing to do with my business, but your aunt actually does. It might be that she knows someone, or she may know a business who's looking for someone. So even though it seems silly, go ahead and do it. Follow that energy. Call whoever you need to call. Write that email. I have a class coming up in Huntington Beach next week. And yesterday, I got the awareness of contacting this one woman. And it totally changed her whole world when I contacted her and invited her to the class and things. And we did an exchange for the class. And it was just I could just feel how much things changed. Even though that's not going to be financially changing for me, it might change my finances as well. So I'm just saying, it's amazing when you follow that energy. When it comes to who's sitting next to you, I just ask, would you just be willing to be aware of who's around you? And if you are looking to grow your business, if you're looking to add someone in your life, whatever that question is that you've put out into the universe, look around and ask questions, because sometimes they appear, or the answers or the information appears in people you least expect. So I think that might be a starting point to it.
And that's a big one, and thank you. And, if somebody wants more of you, how would they get in contact with you?
Well, yes, more of Laleh. Actually, the easiest place is going to be my website. It's bellapemo.com. It's B like boy, LAPEMO.com. There's lots of things about my radio show there. You'll be able to also link back to the A to Zen website, as well as my services. And there's a contact us page that you can contact me if you'd like to learn more.
And thank you so much for taking the time and coming on with this. Like I said, for me, it's been a gift to have you and help me, dissolve that line of my time or your time, or it's okay to talk now or not talk now, and really be more in the receiving of that. So I am so grateful that you came on with us today, and the continued existence of you in the world in my life.
I am super grateful. I adore you. I love Right Body for You. I love the classes. And anyone who hasn't even thought about taking it, seriously, when you start to have communication and communion with your body, everything in your life changes. Your money flows, your relationship, your health. I was just putting it out there. I haven't been sick in 4 years. My kids haven't been sick. My husband hasn't been sick. It's just this magic, using the tools of Right Body for You to really change everything in your life, including your business. So, including networking, by the way.
Including networking, by the way. Yeah. Well, and we talked a little bit about how much easier my body is. Well, I have pretty easy time with travel now, but even more so, I don't have that stiffness of, don't talk to me. Yeah. That's just not gone. That's not there anymore. I'm willing to receive. So thank you so much for joining us today. And remember, if you want to catch any of certain subject or there's something you want me to talk more about on Right Body for You, email me at Danielle@accessconsciousness.com. Thank you, Laleh.
Thank you.
And everyone, make it a fun week. Make it a happy week. Enjoy your body because it's enjoying you. Catch you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Right Body for You. Danielle will return next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Mountain, and 11 a.m. Pacific on A to Zen.fm. We hope you and your body will join us.